And good morning on Wednesday, July 26th. It's episode 257 of the 359 podcast with Ben Fox Rubin and Scott Stein. My name's BBG. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. What's up, guys?
Hey, good morning.
Hey, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, so since Scott is such a brilliant brain when it comes to the mobile world, we're going to do an all-mobile episode, mostly talking about the Moto Z2 Force. You were at the launch event yesterday, and we'll also crack into the Samsung Galaxy Note 8, which we updated the preview on that, and it's not expected until later next month. But Scott, as you had accurately mentioned, this is basically the start of the phone season. So let's talk about that. And if folks want to ask after the show about the iPhone 8 or maybe the Google Pixel 2, which we're also expecting, definitely throw those questions in there. Brian will get to as many as he can at the end of the show. And yeah, let's get started with the podcast, and then we'll get to the questions after.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Shout out to Danny Green. Shout out to Matthew Datcher, our good old friends. It's so good to be back. And here we go. 3, 2.
Welcome to the 359. I'm Ben Fox Rubin, and with me today is special guest Scott Stein, our mobile reviewing maven.
Hi.
Hello.
It's really good to be on.
Yeah.
Phone season is about to get crazy, and it's like starting in the summer, so get ready.
Nice. Well, you were at the Moto Z2 Force. God, that's a mouthful. At the event yesterday. Is this a phone that people should be paying attention to? Is this something you expect folks are going to want to buy?
Definitely. Well, the Moto Z is a really good phone, and you know, not everybody is going to be getting a Motorola phone, but this one has top-notch specs. This has a Qualcomm Snapdragon 835 processor, a nice display. It's got the ability to attach mods. It's really thin.
Dual camera,
which is the new trend that's hitting all phones now, basically. So it's got dual camera. They also debuted a 360 camera that attaches onto the back of that. That's the newest mod that works.
Ooh la la.
Yeah, with other, but $300, which is expensive.
$300 just for the mod?
Yes.
I'm not buying that.
No, you're not going to buy that.
No.
I mean, that's the problem too. Is we'll get into mods in a moment, but as a phone, you don't need to get the mods. It looks like a really good phone. And, you know, it's in that 700 to 800 range, depending on carrier. It's like that, you know, how much you're paying a month. They said as low as $30 a month in the U.S. But last year, what's also nice is, most importantly, it has a shatter-resistant display.
Right.
This is their Shatter Shield tech. Last year, that was on the Verizon exclusive Force. It's always hard to figure out which model of the Moto Z we're talking about, but basically, this is like kind of the best, really like a sequel to the Moto Z last year.
Yeah, and as you said,
Z2.
this is like the one to buy as far as you're concerned, and you got a chance to drop it a bunch of times, which was pretty funny.
Yeah, they really set up drop stations to just kind of drop on brick, and you know, I don't know, I dropped it a bunch of times, and it seemed fine. It's supposed to survive 4 to 5 foot drops. However, the case seemed to get a little bit scuffed, so we're going to do a bigger drop test on that. I think the question, you know, the display may survive. How much of the phone will look like crap when you're done with that, though?
So let's get to the aspect of mods. We on the podcast have talked about the fact that mods were really hot, like, what was it, a year or two ago, and it looked as if it was basically dying off. But Moto, I mean, like, they're leaning into it. This is a second generation phone for them. Is this something that you're going to continue expecting to see, or is it kind of the idea sunsetting a little?
It feels like it's sunsetting. Last year you had the LG G5, you had Project Aura, which never materialized, that Google made. Then you had the debut of the Z, which was the big one. This year we have the Z continuing, but Moto has not expanded. Lenovo, Motorola, they've not expanded that modularity to other phones. You also have Essential,
right,
which is also promising.
Which they're declining to call it mods. Like,
I know,
I saw
whatever.
Andy Rubin at a conference, and he was like, they're not really mods. There's something else.
Right, because I guess Moto Mod is the brand they want to stay away from.
That's true.
It is mods. They're modular. There is a difference, however, that Essential is using, it looks like a broadband near-field wireless, which then it uses, what they're saying is that connection is all about power, not about throughput. On, if you want to get technical, on the Essential mod, which we haven't even seen yet, on those. So it could suggest a network of things near you that could interact wirelessly.
Ooh.
That could be a next wave trend. I feel like that could leapfrog mods if you get into stuff like the technology of WiGig, which I've been obsessed with for a while. Super
and it's
fast.
still not really taking off.
It's still not really taking off, but I feel like people need to kind of emphasize or I would say, you know, make the most of, finesse what WiGig could do. Because then if you have something nearby, then it could seamlessly interface potentially without having to be attached.
Yeah.
At speeds that would be like, USB 3 or like HDMI.
Insane.
Super fast. Yeah, super fast.
As if it's wired.
Yeah, as
Yeah.
if it's wired. But that's the problem with these specific mods is that you have a 360 camera you can snap on now. There's a gamepad. But what's the value of that versus one that does not need to be specific and proprietary that you could use with other phones?
That's a cool idea too.
There are other 360 cameras out there that don't have to be specific mods. And as Josh Goldman reminded me, those cost less, and we haven't done tests comparing them. That's my concern is like, do you really need yet another camera? That'll be your third camera on the back of the Moto Z2.
So I also, with the time we have left, I also wanted to get to the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. We're expecting that launch event in New York, August 23rd. And Jessica Dolcourt, another one of our mobile reviewers, updated our preview story about this. What are your expectations for this phone? You think it's going to be a big deal for Samsung? Hopefully they actually get the right foot forward this time.
Yeah, it's a huge deal for them, and it's also about image as far as what happened with the Note 7, but also in terms of product line, that's always been the most boundary pushing Samsung phone. Mm-hmm. It's like their flagship for the future, even more than the Galaxy S phones. And so there's rumors about dual camera. That wouldn't be surprising. Maybe, like you're saying, a speaker in the stylus.
We were discussing this earlier, a speaker in the stylus, which sounds so idiotic. I don't know why you would need it.
Hi, I'm your stylus. It could translate as you write. That
would be like
cool.
Clippy, you know, a more annoying version of Clippy that you can't get rid of.
Buongiorno. Like your stylus talks to Italian stylus now. So there could be reasons for feedback, however, maybe to give tell if you've reached an edge, to give kind of not haptic, but maybe sounds. Who knows? Samsung always has some wild ideas. Maybe pressure-sensitive display, like 3D touch, although if you have a stylus already, I don't know if there's that much value to it. And then there's the question of Bixby. Mm-hmm. Bixby's been a little embattled. So that is, Samsung's AI also, expanding into areas of computer vision to recognize objects through the camera, kind of like Google Lens. So that's a cool upcoming idea. But again, do you need an extra AI on your phone?
Well,
you already have
on top of Google Assistant,
yeah.
And is it really going to move phones? I mean, that's the primary reason why they release these things is it going to convince people to buy Samsung versus something else?
I think most people really get annoyed by assistants at this point. So, I don't want another assistant annoying me on top of my assistant. It's not which assistant is good at this point? I feel like they're all kind of Siri's got a lot of problems. Google Assistant is okay. Alexa's fine. But it's not on phones that much at this point. And, anyway, so that's the thing is, can it be good?
All right, good. I think we're well past 3 minutes and 59 seconds. So let's call it a day on the podcast today.
But there are more to come. Many phones coming.
Many more to come. If you want to read more about these stories, check us out on CNET. I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
I'm Scott Stein.
Thanks for listening.
As I rub my eye.
Scott, you are a wealth of information.
This is, I feel like, especially for a phone show, we could have gone for 8 hours.
That just flew out of me and I didn't expect it to.
It was great.
Good cold brew.
Thank you. Scott gets really excited about phones.
I guess so.
With
yeah.
good reason.
I didn't even know it would happen. I was ready. You never know when the energy is
I don't even like phones. I don't even like phones.
I don't care about any
about
of this.
phones.
All right. So on that wealth of information, we do have some questions. Durple Purple asks, great name by the way, what about the speakers? And this is in reference to the Moto Z2. What about the speakers? Are they front-facing? And how is the audio fidelity?
That's a really good question. So
probably didn't get much of a chance to experience much sound in a crowded
he was
demo
too busy
area.
Throwing the phone.
We didn't yet. However, we have a unit and a review is in progress. So more to come on that. We'll check it out. I would be concerned that the speakers aren't that great. Don't forget that the Moto Z phones, they flaunt the idea that you can attach better speakers. There's a JBL Sound Boost speaker, which is really good.
If you're really into that.
If you want to pay more. And that is my problem with the mods, is that I think everyone wants it all in the phone. And a lot of what Motorola is doing is just pushing that off into yet another thing you have to buy and attach.
Totally hit it on the nose. If I'm spending $700, $800 on something and it comes with crappy speakers that I have to pay even more for, you could see why people might be a little bit put off.
Buy a better speaker. Buy another camera. Is that a better, a zoom camera, a 360 camera, and dual cameras.
It would be great if
Camera
they had
fetish.
a mod where you just attached a better phone onto it. It'd be like, oh, you don't like this phone? Just add a phone to your phone.
Mod a phone on your phone. Phone your phone to phone. And that phone
Yo,
can
dog.
mod a phone.
I heard you like phones.
Dog.
Old memes are still fun.
That was a great
Old
one.
memes are still
I
fun.
wish Alfred was here for that. He's a big fan
We
of
need
Yo
Alfred.
Dog. Yeah.
All right, we have some more commentary. Jacob Kraft is talking about batteries. He says, I wonder if Motorola dropped the size of the Force's battery to encourage the purchasing of battery mods.
It's a very good question.
And
well,
it's a very good notice. That definitely noticed that this is a smaller, weaker battery than
Yeah.
the previous year.
Yep, good spot. Interesting analysis on that. 2730 milliamps. Because I just wrote up this first thing. Actually, this is all in my head still. For the battery on the Moto Z2 Force, 3000 milliamps for the Z2 Play. So the batteries all took a dip. Z2 Play got really good battery life on our test, not as good as last year. Z2 Force, we don't know. The Motorola claims to still have really good battery life, but yeah, that is a thing. There are so many damn battery packs that are being made as mods. It's like 70% of the mods are battery packs.
Watch your
And,
profanities.
Yeah, it went damn. So many darn battery packs. So many honking battery packs.
Dag-nabbit batteries.
So that's a very good point, though. I hadn't even thought about that before. Or maybe they just feel that we don't need to worry about this
It's a small
because
dip.
you can buy.
It's a small dip, but people are so annoyed that they don't get enough out of their phone battery life that going backwards instead of forwards is obviously something that's going to annoy customers.
It is something that when we heard about it when we were first briefed, we were not thrilled. I don't think any tech person is thrilled with the back dip in battery. That's not the
That
direction.
being said, okay, with the smaller battery, about how much less lifespan are you expected per charge? Like half an hour?
Unclear right now. I mean, the claims. Anytime there's a battery claim, it's like, I don't know. We gotta test it. But the claim is that much like when the iPhone reduced its battery capacity 1 year in the iPhone 6s, I think that it was like, oh, the battery life is still the same. Maybe it's more efficient processing, etc. But the fact is, it's a smaller capacity battery. So however, 2730 should be fine. It's not like there's a small battery. It's just not. The Force was all about like superpower before, and it was big. It was a big phone. Now they're going with the thin design. It's really thin. It's like the Z2. I mean, it's like the original Moto Z.
It better be like the Z2.
It is the Z2. Exactly. It is the Z2. It's like the Moto Z. It's thin. When you pick it up and you see it, you'd be like, oh, wow, this is thin. Also, you want to put a back cover on it, I think, because the weird thing about the Z designs is they feel like something has been lopped off to me. They have exposed gold pins on the back where it connects. Which
For
looks,
the mods.
yeah, which always looks kind of raw and unfinished. You're kind of like, oh, did someone remove the cover to your laptop? And then the camera bump comes out. But if you put a cover on the Z phones, the bump goes away. So for a variety of reasons, aesthetically, I would like to put a cover back on, which would add a bit of thickness again.
Nice.
Catch-22.
If I can get meta here for a second, it's kind of fun to once again, we love to shout out our loyalists and as well as our new friends and fans. Durple Purple, Matthew Datcher, Yathu, they're noticing some of the more technical things that have taken a bit of a step up, and they're curious about the improvements that I installed over the weekend.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, so
People can see my face now.
Matthew, you know how to
Not
get a
just
hold of
one
me.
big
I don't.
pixel.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, right. I'm not gonna go on a tirade here, but I have toyed with the idea of doing like a studio tour video for CNET, just because we do have some kind of cool tech that's not the typical, consumer tech going on here between our switchers and our mixers and our
great
mics and
idea.
cameras. And if anyone's interested in that, just leave a comment. It's not the kind of thing that's a super high on the to-do list, but it could be fun even for just me to like kind of poke around and revisit our.
But yeah, as
something you don't appreciate.
As a shout out to Brian, we would not have a podcast without you, and he is constantly upgrading our tech to make us look better. So thank you very much.
I love that there's conversation in the chat right now going on about the Lego phone, a proverbial Lego phone. And I like that Matthew caught the reference. He says, would that look like the handheld Admiral Al had in Quantum Leap? And now I can't get it out of my head. A modular phone that looks like that multicolored brick, like almost, it looked kind of Tetris-y in a way.
Project Aria had some
Lego
feel to that. Yeah.
Oh God, Lego really should make a phone.
I mean, you just
even
spent,
for kids.
I just
you spent
finished
18 hours putting together a robot.
18. I feel like it was like 5,000. It probably was 18 altogether. That robot kit boost. So I just reviewed that. If you should check out farting robots and all the other stuff that it can do. But why not? Why not make a Lego phone for kids or for anyone?
Right. You wouldn't want to have like a monthly data plan attached to it, but it might be kind of fun to put it together and actually be able to, like, I don't know, turn it into a walkie-talkie or something.
I had a Lego iPhone case at one point. That was like an official one that you just had the stubs, the little what is the name of them? The stubs, the nubbins, the Lego nubbins,
The Lego nubs
that you can put figures on, and you could build on the back of your phone.
But it doesn't
weird.
serve any technical purpose. But I mean, think about it. There is a market for simplified phones, kid phones. Lego should get on that.
People love Lego these days. I mean,
these days.
Like
all of a sudden,
they've been having quite a renaissance. Over
I heard
the
this
past
new
couple
thing
years.
coming out. It's called the Lego.
I feel like they went quiet for a couple of years, and I would probably say over the last like 3 to 5 years, like there's been Lego mania.
You say so.
Which is nice to see.
the movies have helped.
Oh, okay,
the movies
fine.
are actually good.
It's been nonstop since my childhood. Is
Kinda?
that what you're claiming?
Yeah.
Okay, you might be right.
The movies were a brilliant move.
Yes.
I feel like now they're in this like
I just saw the Batman one a couple weeks ago.
and they have Ninjago, which now all of a sudden they're able to boomerang that humor into their own traditional franchises and things. So
Yeah.
now, like, suddenly you might get someone to care about Ninjago who wasn't a Ninjago person.
Yeah.
Ninjago phone, Nexonite phone.
I think we
I
should
don't
start with the core first.
Yeah, I think that's going too far. My son buys we buy him a lot of Lego kits.
He has a credit card.
So I know a lot about this. He's super into Nexonites. He's scanning all the shields into the app, and
All right. Okay. Back
Yeah,
to
that's
phones.
what they- yeah,
though.
that's the-
back
there
to
it
phones.
is.
This
Yeah,
is a bit of a detour onto Lego.
We're getting a little low on time, but Michael Brown, shout out Michael Brown. He says, I think personal assistants need to become more ambient. What do you guys think? Having to remember exactly what to say as a command is kind of annoying, and he's got a point.
Yes.
But they're getting progressively smarter in a sense.
they're in the cloud, so they're getting better, arguably, every single day. And understanding context is very important. Google Assistant tends to do that better than some of the others, but Amazon is certainly trying to do that as well. So
I think the trick will be, and this is an interesting question about privacy to me, about what happens with AI, because a lot of times the companies will claim you don't really have much of a record of all the things you said consecutively, or maybe we do, but we don't knit them together. But basically, I feel like AI needs to understand everything you've said going back a period of time, so that it can start knitting together understanding. So if you start saying something like, "No, that other thing," or "Can't you tell me about what I just asked you?" or stuff like stuff that's like a little more off the cuff.
Right,
I
right.
wanted to understand that because I feel like I'm always starting again.
right,
Like with
and
Alexa.
this goes going back to Michael Brown's point. By the way, I just remembered what I wanted to say as far as like I was talking to an Adobe analyst that said that in many ways when you talk to these voice assistants, you need to learn how to speak voice. I think that's what he was saying, is that you almost have to speak in this technical code where sometimes you even have to trigger, like if I'm going to use an IFTTT command, I have to say trigger this, to the specific voice assistant. So there are these like different steps that go on, and you have to. It's not quite natural language. It's not like you and I talking to each other.
Do you know what it's exactly like? It just occurs to me. It's a lot like those old text adventure games.
Yes.
It's like Zork.
Oh, you're totally right.
Look
Just
through
like
Room.
Zork,
It's-
whatever
yeah.
that is.
Come on.
No, I don't know.
Come
what that
on.
is.
Well, anyway, they were text adventures. And in order to look around a room, it's like, you get the key on the table. You couldn't just be like, get the key on the table. It's like, look table. Oh, there's a key.
Right, you're like
Get
writing
key.
in code basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go left, get key. that type of stuff.
Go forward. What is forward?
Right.
Like,
Oh, I don't know how to put the key away. Put key in pocket. Okay, it's in your pocket.
it is this whole other like subversion language almost. And I wonder if down the road this will not to get too weird and philosophical here at the end of the show, but I wonder if it'll have any kind of adverse effects on our natural speaking.
It definitely will have an
You think
adverse
so?
effect. Yeah.
Brian, end podcast.
Yeah.
No, no,
Okay,
no.
okay,
Don't do
Brian.
it.
Okay, Brian, don't
Brian.
end broadcast.
Okay, Brian, cancel.
Hey, Brian. Hey, Brian, don't
Hey, Brian, what's the
be
weather
ready
today?
to end podcast.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
The good news, though, is that all these companies, and they're all the majors, recognize this, and they want to get us closer to natural language. But the problem, especially with what you were saying, is natural language understanding is super duper difficult.
Oh, yeah.
To actually, like, voice processing, that's one thing. Natural language generation, that's what they've been working on now. The next steps are like natural language understanding, and like it's very like computers are super literal, and so it's really hard for them to understand what we say when we say it because they don't understand a lot of our context.
Well, and this is dialogue. This is relationship building. So at some point, the deeper you get, the more connected you're supposed to be. And that opens up identities too, because right now when you talk to an echo, everyone's talking to the echo. But at some point, you need it to discern you versus your wife versus your kids.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, it needs to understand your history. Sometimes AI like Siri will remember, I call my wife. Oh, that's Joanna. Like it'll keep certain bits for you. Is that me? Is that someone else talking to Siri? Like that distinction needs to happen more as well, and that's going to be immensely difficult. But
Right.
you can't go forward to understanding what's in your head and being able to pluck pieces out of that, or wherever a relationship happens.
I will tell you that these companies are very much having these conversations. Multi-user is already available with the Google Home, and I would expect it to be available at some point through the Echo as well. And you're hitting on a lot of stuff that's going to make this stuff a lot better. So,
On a thought to go out on, riffing on what you were just talking about, Scott, Derp Purple says maybe they should give it something that makes it learn your habits and personality. And that's cool, and that would increase the functionality and comfort zone with operating these devices. But at what point do we get into HAL 9000 creepy territory where it knows you too well?
totally.
We get there
Totally.
pretty fast. I
It's
think
it's
We're
all
dangerously
privacy balance. Yeah, for sure.
it is that perpetual balance. And at what point do you start living your life to a routine to match the system? Which also,
Whoa!
that is kind of what already happens in life. That is kind of mind blowing. But hey, that's what I do every day: running to get to the train and coming into work and doing all that. But
functioning your life
is right.
in the
Yeah.
interests of your voice assistant sounds super creepy.
get ready for the continuing exploration of symbiotic.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly it. I do think that's the most interesting part: is to what point does it evolve? To what point are we evolving? And that goes back to how we speak and how we learn to speak. It's going to get weird, but it has to change on both sides.
Let's call it, or else we're going to be here all day. But Scott,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming, and let's wrap this thing up. The podcast is available on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play Music, FeedBurner, and also on a little website called cnet.com. Thanks everybody for listening. Great questions, everybody, and
Hope
we'll
you're
be
not
back.
tweaking you out the rest of the
Yeah,
day.
yeah, for
Everyone's
sure.
gonna be like, "Oh God, it's really happening." The
But-
robot uprising.
Don't be terrified.
Don't
They
be
still have
terrified.
limits.
Don't be terrified while they scan your brain.
They still have limits. You can turn everything off right now.
So we're going to be back on Monday, by the way. We're off tomorrow. Just a bunch of people are going to be out of the office, and we'll see you on Monday. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everyone. Good to be
thanks.
back.